and welcome to Extra Time here on LCFC Radio and LCFC TV. Thank you very much for joining us, whether you're listening or watching along. Matt, Elliott and Iwan Roberts will join me for the next hour or so as we assess Leicester City's win over Leeds on Saturday. We'll touch upon that Burnley game, of course, 2 clean sheets in 2 games, 2 brilliant wins for the Foxes in this last week. And we'll also look ahead to the game with Rennes on Thursday. Without further ado, though, how are you both? You and QPR, was it? Did I hear you say?
Yeah, I know it's not called Loftus Road anymore, but I can't get used to these new names, Dan. So it's always going to be Loftus Road for me, to be fair. And I tell you what, because I took my iPad down and I managed to watch the Leicester Leeds game, which was a bonus sort of thing. So yeah, all in all, a good weekend.
Yeah, good man. And Matt, how about you? I know you went out for a few drinks, didn't you, on Saturday after the game to celebrate the victory?
Yeah, that's right, mate. See, the early kick-off stuck me into the weekend, didn't it? Had a little gathering, shall we say, of a multitude of characters were out after the game, and it was a good day, enjoyed by all for different reasons. First and foremost, the football. By the way, what's it called these days? If it's not Loftus Road,
the Cayenne Foundation.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a proper mouthful.
Right, I didn't even know that. There you go.
Yeah, we were there for a pre-season game, weren't we, this season? Well, it was Jerry, actually, was doing it.
That's why I don't know.
Matty got out of that one as well, did he?
Yeah, shocked that Matt hasn't travelled to an away game yet. So it was a good win, Matt, wasn't it, on Saturday? It's been a really good week, as we've touched upon, the wins at Burnley and then against Leeds.
Yeah, both vitally important, weren't they? I think the performances were somewhat in contrast, really, although Leicester struck at the important time on Saturday, but I thought Leeds were quite unlucky, really, not to get something out of the game. They'll be frustrated at the fact they didn't, but from Leicester's point of view, some quality at the right time, shall we say. Some good performances, and these last 2 wins have been extremely timely, haven't they? Without a doubt, because I think in particular the game against Burnley, I thought on the face of it, it looked like Leicester were maybe up against it. Burnley were going well. Leicester had a sticky time of late, but they went and, without being totally dominant, looked very comfortable in the game, didn't they? Really, and deservedly got their win. Saturday, less convincing, I think. Leeds were up for the challenge, that was for sure. The new manager coming in often has an effect, and I think it certainly didn't do them any harm in this instance. Like I say, they'll be frustrated, but good performances, good actions from individuals at important times. Kasper Schmeichel pulled off a good few blocks and saves, etc. Solid performance defensively in the heart of Leicester's defence, which has been a big issue. And down that left-hand side, Leicester were a threat all day, and ultimately that's where the difference was made.
Yeah, I think everyone was expecting a reaction, Ewan, weren't they, from Leeds United under a new manager. You often see that new manager bounce. You did kind of see it with Leeds. They'd conceded 21 in their previous 6 Premier League games. Obviously, they looked a lot more secure at the weekend, but thankfully, obviously, Leicester was still able to breach that defence. Yeah,
I mean, they'd lost their previous 4 Premier League games before Saturday. As you say, they'd conceded so many goals. I think there was a record in goals conceded in a Premier League month for them, a record that they didn't want. They've got rid of Bielsa, who did ever so well with the club, getting them back to the Premier League, keeping them there comfortably last season. But it has gone wrong. They brought Jesse Marsh in, and you always get a bit of a reaction when a new manager takes over, Dan. And I thought Leeds probably were unlucky on the day. But when you've got one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, in Kasper Schmeichel, I think he made 2 or 3 excellent saves in the game. And it just goes to show, you keep clean sheets, you've got every chance of winning the game. I thought it was on the back of what happened on Tuesday up at Turf Moor. It's not an easy place to go, as Matty said. They were in good form. I think they'd taken 7 points from their previous three league games. So it's never easy to go up there, especially on a cold Tuesday night, to come away with yet another clean sheet. And I think back-to-back wins for just the second time this season. Going before Burnley, I think the club hadn't won in their last 5 Premier League games. So this, I wouldn't say it takes a bit of pressure off everybody, that just gets that feel-good factor back within the football club, with a very big week to come, of course.
Yeah, massive week for Leicester City. It's the start really of, we sort of used the term the beginning of the end of the season, Matt, didn't we, at the weekend now, heading into March. And Leicester have started this running, if you like, well with these 2 victories.
Yeah, as I said before, extremely timely, weren't they? Because it widened the gap, shall we say, between any small fears of being drawn into the relegation situation. I don't think there was ever a major issue or major concern, but you can't be too complacent. That game against Burnley, that's why I keep referring back to it. If it had gone the other way, you were talking, I think it was a 3-point gap between Burnley and Leicester, wasn't it? And obviously other teams below getting results at the weekend. Brentford, Newcastle continue to pick up, but to beat 2 teams below you within the week has alleviated any fears, really, hasn't it? If there were any at all. And now instead you're looking forward and upwards again, which is nice. Quite a lot of work to be done to get themselves right back in the mix where they'd like to be, i.e. competing for European spots. But it looks a little bit more reasonable from Leicester's point of view, doesn't it? I think where they stand at the moment, I think they've every chance of getting stronger in the back end of this season because of the injuries, etc. The nature of how the season has gone. I think there'd be a bit more regularity to their performance and their lineup, which will have a positive effect. And I expect Leicester to be moving up the table rather than down the table in the back end.
Yeah, you look at the table, Ewan, the only team that have played less games than Leicester are Everton, and they play tonight. So then sort of they'll be equal. No team will have played less than Leicester. They've got, well, certainly 3 games in hand on some teams above them as well. You never know what might happen now. With these 2 wins, there's still 13 games left for Leicester. They can achieve an awful lot still this season.
They can, absolutely, they can achieve a top half finish, and I don't think that's by any means out of the equation. They're more than capable of doing that. And as I said, back-to-back wins are crucial in this division. It's only the second time that Leicester have managed to do that. I think the first time was back in October when they beat Brentford and Manchester United in that great game at the King Power. And Matty's spot on in what he says. You don't really want to be having to look over your shoulder. And after that run of just 1 win in 7 in the league, I think there was 7 points between Leicester and the bottom 3. And there were some nervous fans, Leicester fans out there. Some fans coming out and saying, couldn't see where the next win was coming from. But Brendan's got too good a squad for them to be fighting relegation, finishing in the bottom half. Once again on Saturday, he's had to chop and change. He's had to mix things around. Ricardo's pulled out the last minute. No James Maddison, probably the club's best player this season. Bang in form. He's had to play Hamza Chowdhury at right back, and I thought he was different class on the day. When you think he's a City midfielder, he's played there this year. He's played centre half this year. He's played right back. He didn't let himself or the club down. So all in all, when you put everything into context, I think it is really 2 solid wins. And going back to Burnley, the first clean sheet away from home in 19 games, that must give them, a massive confidence boost.
Yeah, what will it do to them? Do you think, Ewan, Matt?
I just think 2, and they know they can play better. I didn't see the Burnley game because I was working, and I've seen the goals. Fantastic goal by James Maddison. Good link-up play with Jamie Vardy. Great to see Jamie Vardy back. Great to see him on the score sheet. Is that just the second headed goal this season, I think, for the club? And both have came from Jamie. So it's great. I think just having him back, Dan, gives everybody, not just the dressing room, but the whole football club, a massive boost. Seeing Jamie Vardy step on the pitch and doing what he does. There's no better feeling than winning, and I think Leicester will admit they've played better and lost this season. Looking at Leeds, because they did have chances, as I said, they will think they should have had a point from the game. But if you don't take those chances, And it's hard to take those chances when you've got such a good goalkeeper as Kasper Schmeichel. And it was a fantastic goal. You know, it really was a fantastic. If you can't take confidence from grinding a 1-0 result out in the top division, then there's something wrong.
Yeah, there's a few ways you can kind of look at the wastefulness maybe of Leeds. Kasper Schmeichel on good form as well. It was a mix really, Matt, of the two, wasn't it? They did have 19 shots in the game. Leicester, though, fortunately, were able to keep that clean sheet and get the win.
Yeah. I suppose it's different perspectives how you want to assess the the overall picture. But all said and done, as you was mentioned there, it was a win. I wouldn't say they were lucky, but the outcome was in doubt. Certainly up until Leicester got the breakthrough. You were slightly nervous really about how things were going to end up, but Leicester were sort of not cut open, but were a little bit susceptible, particularly on the counter. Leeds piling numbers forward with pace, and if you see how they play, it's a bit of a gamble how they go up against you. And I always thought there was always a capability of Leicester's scoring at the other end as well. So it was, even though the scoreline was 0-0, it was quite an intense game, really, and it was always on a balance, really, which way it was going to go. And but you just got that feeling as soon as Leicester scored that would be enough. Strangely, I think Leeds were might be being a bit harsh on them, a little bit fragile mentally, maybe. And I was interested to see how they would react once Leicester got in front, and all of a sudden they didn't look as threatening at all, really. And the stuff that was knocked out of them, really, just by one goal. But I suppose that's as a result of being in the form they are of late. But it was mixed. I thought Leicester had their opportunities as well. They had situations more than anything, didn't they? They didn't make Meslier work often enough. And people were saying to me at half-time break, I think I mentioned it on the show afterwards on Saturday, a few people coming up saying, "Oh, missing Maddison, missing that creative spark, etc." And that's a valid point. That is a valid point. You mentioned about him being possibly the best player this season. I don't even know if he would have started if he had played. I don't know. Possibly on the right-hand side instead of Albrighton shuffled back. I don't know. We'll never know. But I think it was sort of understandable. You expected an energetic response from Leeds. They worked really hard against Burnley in the week. Sometimes that early morning early afternoon kickoff takes a little while to get in your stride. Maybe I don't really want to use that as any sort of excuse, but they've had a testing time of late. Worked hard against Burnley, and Leeds were quite vibrant, weren't they? They were up for the challenge. So Leicester had to be really at their best to go and dominate that game, and they weren't at their best, and they ground their way through it, which is a good attribute to have. You don't always win pretty, but clean sheet, Ewan says, vital, picking up the 3 points, producing the real moment of quality in the game, and that will suffice for now.
Yeah, I think you need your important players to step up, Ewan, don't you, in games like that? You look what happened at Turf Moor. James Maddison, Jamie Vardy stepped up against Leeds on Saturday. It was Harvey Barnes who stepped up this time. A really well-taken goal.
I mean, I didn't realise that the build-up for the goal sort of started just outside the Leicester penalty area, and they moved it ever so well. Moved it to the right, back into midfield, found its way to that left-hand side with Harvey Barnes. It was a very similar taken goal to the one he scored in the second leg at Randers, when he's cut in from that left-hand side and he's bent it around the goalkeeper. I thought Kelechi Iheanacho's movement to find himself that little bit of space that he needed just to play that little 1-2 with Harvey Barnes was outstanding. The weight of pass from Kelechi was top class. Just means that Harvey didn't even have to break stride, didn't even have to take a touch. He's just opened his body out, and you could always see what he was going to do. And Meslier, he's a big boy. He's 6'4", 6'5", so he didn't have too much of a goal to hit. But yet, I wasn't surprised, Dan. Once Harvey had created that opening for himself with that lovely little 1-2, I wasn't surprised that he found that left-hand corner.
When he picked it up in that position, and I think the whole of King Power Stadium wanted him to just drive at the defender, and that's what he did. Or he played the 1-2, but it was that forward run that we've seen so much from Harvey Barnes.
Yeah, and I think that left-hand side on Saturday was far more threatening, and that's quite understandable because you've got two lads in Luke Thomas and Harvey Barnes who've got that understanding. It was hard for Hamza and Mark Albrighton down that right-hand side because they're filling holes because of the injury situation. But yeah, I think and it's a massive problem for any right back, because Harvey's he's as comfortable for me in going down the line, knocking the ball out of his feet. We've seen him do it on more than one occasion and deliver with his left foot. Yeah, he does put good service in with his left foot, and it's a hard one for the right back. What do I do? Do I show him down the line with chance of he might pick Jamie Vardy out, or do I cut him inside, or do I let him go inside where we might have a few more bodies to maybe stop him doing what he did on Saturday? It's a really, really tough one. But yeah, I just wasn't surprised when he found that bottom corner. I really wasn't. Yeah,
it was a really good finish, Matt. I think the keeper got a hand to it, didn't he? But there was enough on it, sending it across the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think it went. Was it Ayling? Did it go through his legs? Which is. I wouldn't say that was intentional from Harvey, but he's put it in the right area. A little bit of fortune there, but yeah, as soon as it was typical Harvey Barnes fashion, isn't it? As you've made reference to just now, he gets himself in those positions regularly, and I think more regularly going forward, he will convert them as well. I think he's probably been frustrated himself. I feel, although he'll be pleased with his form overall and his returns and stats, etc. But I just think he's got even better in the locker. He can do it more regularly, and we've seen that now on a couple of occasions in the last 3 games. Talk about going on the outside. In a sort of different instance, it was more of a step over and getting a yard of space against Burnley, wasn't it? Left-footed, beautiful delivery for Jamie Vardy to nod home. So he's developing his game in that way. But he prefers to cut inside. But if he's got a genuine 50-50 decision to make, I'm equally comfortable left and right, outside, inside, fullbacks are going to have a horrendous time up against him down the line. He's got so much quality there and so much ability. He provides assists as well, not just crosses. But he can pick a pass. And I thought, you mentioned that run, that move, originated from deep. I wouldn't say it was a lightning quick attack, but It was well constructed. But Harvey Barnes was, I was actually watching him, ironically, just seeing what his movement would be. And I think I said it in the commentary, I thought at one stage, he looked tired because he was just jogging up the pitch. As opposed to trying to maybe get up against the fullback, but he was just biding his time, really, and holding his position and leaving space once he received the ball to either move on to a pass or move with the ball. And once he drives at players, as you mentioned, Bates, he's a real handful, isn't he? The give and go, first time finish as well. No one can get close enough to deal with that, I'm afraid.
He's clearly in a rich vein of form as well, Ewan. And you look at it, he's 24 years old. He's probably not even reached his peak, reached his potential yet, which is an exciting thing, I think, from a Leicester City fan point of view.
I was listening to Brendan's interview after the game, and he was speaking about Harvey Barnes, and he was just saying he just keeps getting better and better, and there is so much more to come from him. The sky's the limit with Harvey Barnes. He's had his injury problems, as we all know, but I think he's getting back to somewhere near his best now. The form that he showed before that injury, the form that he showed where he got his England caller, and he can't be far. There's games this month. He can't be far from that England squad at the end of the month. I think something that the club should be ever so proud of as well. You look at that team that started against Leeds, 4 academy products. starting that game. You know, Hamza Chowdhury, right back, Luke Thomas, Keenan Dewsbury Hall, who's been outstanding, who looks so comfortable at Premier League level. Harvey Barnes down that left-hand side. You know, the club can be ever so proud with the players that they're bringing through the system, and it's a fantastic place to be.
Yeah, it is an exciting time at the moment, particularly the academy, Matt. I know we've spoken a lot about it, but the sheer numbers that the academy produces and the players that are in there. Kieran Dewsbury Hall has possibly been Leicester's best player this season. I think Brendan Rodgers spoke about Luke Thomas being one of his sort of favourite players this season, or most important players this season. And these are academy players that we're talking about here that Leicester obviously didn't have to pay for. It must be such a bonus, that.
Yeah, it's incredible, really, especially in the profile of the Premier League and the amount of money that is flies around these days, that a club who've done as well as Leicester were able to sort of introduce the young players, because I think most clubs that are competing at the level that Leicester are somewhat reluctant to do so, because there isn't that facility to have a bedding in process, really, because results are all important and scrutiny is constant. But Leicester's probably the best club in the country for young players to be at, because you get those opportunities despite being the level of team that they are. There are other examples, I'm sure, but Leicester's track record over recent times and in times gone by has been of a very high standard, hasn't it? And late for you, Ewan says there, that to have 4 in the starting lineup is pretty much unheard of. I'm sure there are other comparisons, but you don't get that too often, do you? At that level of football, and there's more to come. Lewis Brunt.
You obviously watch the dev squad quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah. Well, the one for me that, it won't be a massive shock or anything, because he's made a first team appearance. Lewis Brunt, I've been very impressed with. Not a young kid, I think is he 21 or so, 20? But he looks very, very capable as well. He was on the bench, and at a time when Leicester weren't totally decimated with injuries. I know there's still more than their fair share, but it wasn't in an emergency situation that he found himself on the bench. He's very composed and classy, midfield or centre half.
21, Matt.
21, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the mix at some stage. Maybe not just now. But let's just sign 15 players from the academy on different first professional contracts, which certainly in my experience, not that I'm particularly knowledgeable on that level of football, but that doesn't happen too often. In our day, Ewan, it used to be 3-4 max, didn't it?
Yeah.
One back.
18. Yeah.
I suppose it's a sign of the times as well that the club can afford to take the risk. Obviously not all 15 of them are going to end up in the first team, but they get filtered out. But in the meantime, Leicester can afford to keep them and see how they progress rather than being forced to let them go because of finances. But listen, the academy, the training ground, the setup was constructed for a reason, wasn't it? To produce, and without doubt, it's doing that, and it's with flying colours.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the training ground, actually, Ewan, as well, because that must massively help. And any young players that are potentially looking at which club maybe to join, or if there's a really exciting young player, they'll surely be enticed by the training ground now at Leicester City. It is that good.
Dan, I think any club at Premier League level, any big club, you've got to have state-of-the-art training facilities, because you've got to show these training facilities to new signings you want to bring in that there'll be no better environment for those young lads to develop than where they're at now. They've got everything that they need there. I remember when I first signed for Leicester and I saw Beaver Drive, and I couldn't believe it. It was. I'd been at Watford, I'd been to Huddersfield, but this was by far the best training ground that I'd ever trained at. And I couldn't wait to get started. But the level of facilities now is just astronomical. They've got everything that they need. And I think now, back in our day, Matty, 12, half 12, we'd be away. We'd be either in the snooker hall, on the golf course,
or elsewhere.
In the pub. But now, players will stay there all day. They'll watch their analysis. They'll watch their own performance. They'll have a look at who they're up against next. They probably won't leave until 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. So they will spend the whole day at that training facility. And you've got to feel comfortable there. You've got to be happy there. And I've not been there yet. I can't wait to have my first visit. But what I've seen on the TV, you gave me a little tour last week, Dan, didn't you? Before Matty sort of fought his way through that school traffic the other week. It looks unbelievable. Yeah, it looks unbelievable. It really, really does.
Yeah, you're long overdue a visit, I think, Ewan, certainly. Right, let's move on.
Question. Sorry, Dan. Ewan, you say about the importance of the training ground. For an extra £1,000 a week back in our day, would you go to a club with with the worst training ground, or you go there?
To train on a park, absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly. Although, having said that, I think it is. When you look at it in the bigger picture, it's probably more. I mean, how much benefit the pros get, the experienced pros. Yes, what you say, Ewan, I agree with that. They're more likely to stay and reflect on things and analyse, etc. There's more capability for that. But as much as anything, it is to attract those young players as well. The big players that 3 or 4 clubs might be after at the age of whatever these days. Yeah. And also, on the back of that, Leicester back it up with playing young players, giving them the opportunity in the first team, which certain other teams in the Premier League don't.
Well, that's actually a really good point. I'm sure those young players will look at the fact that Leicester had 4 academy graduates starting. And by the way, all 4 of those from Leicester as well, Matt.
Yeah, the way it's worked out, even better, isn't it? Even better. But even if it was players who were from elsewhere in the country, but had spent a reasonable amount of their development at Leicester City, I think that would reflect just as well, if not better, to be honest, because it's lovely to have homegrown players. Of course, it is from a sports point of view and the club. But if you can start attracting people from further afield, not just in the country, abroad even. I know some people might think that's a bit superficial, but you develop a reputation as well, and people are attracted to it, and then you have more choices. So you can have various knock-on effects.
I know that not conceding goals, Matt, has been a bit of an issue for Leicester so far this season. But we've spoken about the 2 clean sheets now in the week. Kaglar Soyuncu and Daniel Amati seem to be building up a pretty good partnership now. It's taken them a little bit of time, but that's to be expected, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit early to say that, but I would say...
The foundations are certainly there, 2 clean sheets.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the last 2 games, they've looked much more solid. And I think they probably steeled themselves, which is a good sign, because it was getting to the stage where it could sort of go one way or the other, quite frankly. Things weren't going particularly well, and there was sort of nervousness, and they didn't seem to be working as a pair or collectively as a defensive unit with any degree of confidence. Communication is hugely important there in the back line, and I'm not sure how good that is. And that's not just the fact that they're not natural English speaking. Soyuncu's case, certainly. But it's a little bit concerned when you get certain blend there in the heart of defence. But I think they steeled themselves for the challenge against Burnley and did exceptionally well. I think the challenge that they came up against wasn't quite what they expected. I thought Burnley were poor on the night, but they can only deal with what is in front of them, and they coped very well. And I think that gave them confidence going into the Leeds game as well. Different type of challenge coming up against Daniel James, like buzzing around here, there, and everywhere. But by and large, their concentration, which is the biggest thing, because they've got the capabilities to do it. We all know Soyuncu can be a top-class defender. Amati can be very capable. It's working as a pair, but most of all, it's being focused, concentrated, switched on. Do the right thing 10 times out of 10, not 7 or 8. Because those 1 or 2, 3 times you don't do it, you get caught out. But the one little slip at the weekend against, on Amati's case, I think he switched off. James came in, I think Soyuncu covered. Soyuncu made those blocks. There was more determination about their play, more assurance about their play. And they'll only get better. 2 clean sheets as well. Schmeichel helped them out when they had to. But, yeah, more confidence from naturally for them going forward. And hopefully I'm sure they will be up to the job for Leicester.
And we know as well, you and Wesley Fofana is back in training. Of course, we've all seen the pictures, the videos of him back out, which is brilliant. So the assumption is he's pretty close as well. Johnny Evans, by all accounts, I think it's April that he'll be back as well, which is important, obviously, for the running. But even just let's concentrate on Fofana to get him back as well. It'll be really good.
Oh, it'd be massive. Absolutely massive. He burst on the scene last season. He was outstanding. What was he, 21 when he signed for the club? Comfortable with the ball, ridiculously quick, strong. Enjoys defending, and he's been badly missed. It was a shocking tackle back in pre-season. We weren't too sure how bad the injury was, how long he was going to be out, but it is what it is. He has missed a lot of majority of the season. I have to say, I think Daniel Amati, he must be a dream to work with, Dan, because whenever you ask him to play, he'll always give you everything. He knows his strengths, he knows his capabilities, he knows what he's good at. He's a good defender. I wouldn't say he's one of these defenders that's comfortable passing out the back. So, he plays to his strengths. And you can tell with Soyuncu, there's a good defender in there. I've always believed that. He's still a very, very young man. He just needs to cut out the poor decisions that he makes sometimes. Trying to be too clever. Trying to play out the back, trying to be too precise, taking one too many touches, which he has done in the last 2 games. And it can't be any coincidence that they've stopped making these needless errors in that final third, and they've kept 2 clean sheets, and it's great. And you need options. You need all your best players, but you need Fofana back. You need Johnny Evans. You need competition for places because that's when the standard of not just training but playing, it gets higher and higher.
Yeah, we don't know when Fofana will be back. We assume it will be soon, Matt. Whether or not it's Thursday, obviously we don't know. Hopefully we'll find out this week when Brendan Rodgers speaks to the press ahead of that game with Rennes. What are your thoughts ahead of that one? It's a good opportunity again for Leicester. Rennes are doing really well, though, in the French league. It'll be a really tough tie, probably, other than Roma, maybe the toughest of all the teams Leicester could maybe have had.
Yeah, I think initially when the name comes out the hat, people are not too unhappy with it, and then they actually have a look at the situation and think, hang on a sec. Could have been a lot easier ties that Leicester could have faced. But, they score a lot of goals. I think, what is it? I looked earlier, actually. I was doing a bit of research for a change.
Wow. Now that is surprising.
What about that? I think 27 games, 53 goals. So basically 2 a game. They're capable. Conceded 25, by the way, just in case. Drop that one in there. But listen, they're going well, aren't they? Going well. Don't know too much about their individuals, but just their position in the league this year, suggests that Leicester have to be on top of their game again, aren't they? A different sort of challenge. Burnley away. Leeds at home, Rennes at home in the first leg, isn't it? And then, but a 2-legged challenge, how to deal with that. I think, with the way they're playing, you're going to have to look to get that advantage, aren't you? I know that is standard to get an advantage in the home leg. Against Rennes, I thought it was vital that they, as much as could do, finished the tie off in the first leg, which they did. I don't expect Leicester to do that this week, but some sort of advantage, I think, would be more than agreeable, shall we say.
What would be a good result? 1-0, just a 1-goal advantage? Would that be enough, do you think? Apparently, by all accounts, the atmosphere over in Rennes is going to be really volatile, but in a good way. Like, it'll be hostile, but it'll be good. Their fans will be right behind them.
Yeah. Listen, atmospheres, etc. They can drive you on, really, rather than being a negative. I know they lift the home team, etc. But, if you play your game, you got to make it as irrelevant as possible, what's going on the outside, really. And most players, decent players, top players, and Leicester have got plenty of them, excel in that environment. That's when you're up for it. So it gives you that extra motivation. But what's a good result? Yeah, listen, any sort of victory, of course, that sounds a bit obvious, but a 1-0 would be satisfactory for sure going in there, because I don't think the tie is going to be done and dusted in the first leg, whatever. So you've got to have that mentality to be prepared to stick it out for the duration.
Yeah, no away goals anymore in Europe as well, Ewan. So I guess that changes the dynamic slightly.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Because you see so many cagey first leg games that end up goalless because teams are so scared of conceding that away goal. To be fair, he's spot on in what he said in his homer that he's done. I mean, they do score. I think only PSG have scored more, which you would expect. They didn't lose in their 8 games in the group stages. They scored 18 goals in those 8 games. They won all 4. And I was looking, because they were in the same group as Spurs, and I think they had a good 2-2.
You've outdone me now.
I've got to top you, mate. I've got to top you.
End stats.
They drew 2-2 at home with Spurs, and I looked at the game at the Spurs' new stadium. I thought, they beat Spurs away 3-0.
No,
but they didn't play. They didn't play, did they?
Yeah, I did the exact same thing, Ewan. Yeah.
Spurs forfeited the game because of COVID. They couldn't field a team, and I'm thinking they must be some side if they've got the Spurs and won 3-0. I think this is going to be a proper tough game for Leicester. But of course, they were handed that 3-0 win.
Did you not know that, chaps?
No, I didn't. Mate, I didn't. But they played yesterday. I mean, they've had a day less rest because they played Angers last night. They won 2-0. They've got 2 boys up front in, I think it's Laborde. 14 goals he's got, and then they've got a Martin Terrier. He's a bit of a biter in midfield. He's got 13 goals. So, as Matty said, they score plenty.
Yeah, I'm going to move very quickly on from that little that little comment there. We all heard it though, you don't we? It's important, man. We've spoken a lot about this competition this season and what it would mean to the club to win it, not just for qualification for Europe next season, but it's another piece of silverware. There was the disappointment of what happened in the group in the Europa League, so they do have an opportunity in this competition. They've just got a really, really tough last 16 tie.
Yeah, they do have a chance. Of course they do. And a decent one at that. But as you mentioned there's some decent sides still in the competition. Roma and Benefacci got knocked out, didn't they? Which is fortunate for Jerry Taggart's point of view. Listen, why not? Why not? I mean, I think being in the top 6 in the Premier League is going to be too big an ask this season with the gap that is there, despite the games in hand. Never know. Never say never. Give it the best crack you can. But if they were to finish, let's say, 8th, and who knows, go and win this Europa Conference competition. Plenty of work to be done, of course. But what a different impression that would leave of the season, wouldn't it? As you say, another trophy picked up. And all of a sudden, there'd be an air of positivity about how the season has gone, whereas a lot of the time it's been The opposite of that, really, because, well, largely because of the injury situation and subsequently the results. But there's still that capability for Leicester to not turn the season on its head, but certainly give it more of an upward curve, and no better way than winning a European trophy. So what incentive it is, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Join us on Thursday then. I think it's an 8 o'clock kickoff, so we'll be live from 6:30 on Matchday Live, building up to that big one at the Leicester City Stadium. Right, let's move on and do our football Jenga then to finish extra time today. Iwan Roberts is on absolute fire in 2022, so he's unbeatable at the minute, Matt. So maybe today will be the day. Sounds like you've done a bit of research as well, Matt. Maybe that'll.
No, that's it. That's my research finished.
Right.
Bit over.
Right, I won't make you name them players in the Rennes squad then, because.
I did have a little look, but I can't remember many of them.
No. Right, what we're doing in European competition, obviously this week. I want you to name any of the teams left in any of the European competitions. So either the Champions League, the Europa League, or the Conference League. So that's 3 lots of last 16. So there's 48 teams for you to pick from. So I'm looking forward to Matt getting it wrong on the second answer for all that research. But Ewan, you can kick us off, please.
We'll go with Liverpool.
Chelsea.
Man City.
Man U. I was just thinking about Man United.
Bayern Munich.
Atletico Madrid.
Real Madrid.
PSG.
Inter Milan.
Leicester.
Hey, there we go.
Rennes.
Who'd you go?
Rennes.
Oh, that means he's struggling if he's using Rennes. Or is he? He's looking down, mates. He's looking down. Roma.
West Ham.
Barcelona.
Rangers.
PSV. PSV.
Sevilla.
Oh no, I'm starting to struggle now. I shouldn't be, but I am. Oh, come on. I'm trying to think who else is in the conference you should be looking at. Oh, they went out now, didn't they? Genk.
Ghent with a T. Yep, I'll give you that.
That's what I said.
Again with a T, not a K.
I got cornflakes, don't give me tea.
Copenhagen.
Oh, he's got plenty in the bag, hasn't he? I don't think they're still in it. They're not in it, are they? I'm going to say Marseille.
Yep, Marseille.
Yeah. Good shout.
I wasn't sure if they got knocked out or not.
AZ Alkmaar.
Oh,
Yeah, this is going to end one way, isn't it? But let's keep going. Come on, Matt.
I think it's ended. Oh, come on. There's plenty left. I should know. Champions League. Come on, think. Porto.
Yeah, good answer.
Galatasaray.
I nearly said Dortmund then, but Rangers beat them, didn't they?
Yeah.
Come on. I'm annoying myself now. Who's in the Champions League? No. Said Milan, haven't we? We've got Milan. Juventus, they're not in it, are they? Or are they?
Ooh.
Are they? No, I don't think they are. Oh, come on. Juventus.
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course they're in it. Of course they're in it.
I thought they'd gone out.
Bayern Leverkusen.
Oh, I'd never have said them. In times gone by, I might have. I'm proper struggling now. Where are we going? I'm trying to think of different countries. Where are we going? Ajax.
Yeah, well done. It's still going. We're still going.
I mean, at least I made a fist of it, mate. See, I'm not.
Yeah.
Slavia Prague.
Oh, right. I should know because I looked at the draw for the Europa.
There's still 21 answers.
Jeez.
Oh, no, that's all right. I think we've done well to whittle it down to that.
Yeah, I've done well. You've got over half.
Over half? Who are they? Let's see. Oh, right. I don't know. Right, I'm keep touching now. Leipzig.
Well done.
Oh, kiss him.
Basel.
Oh, it's at least have a delay. Don't pretend that you're struggling or something.
Hey, it's called homework, mate. You know what I mean? You've got to cover every angle.
I'm going 60 seconds in between each answer. How much time we got left, mate? Can't we just call it off now?
Call it draw.
Call it a draw. A flesh wound. Oh, come on. I'm just starting to think of saying now. We've done Italy, really, haven't we? We've done England. Or have we? Yes, we have. Or have we? Have we, Batesy?
I don't know why you're asking me.
Yes, we have. Tottenham out. I can't think. I can't think of anyone. Come on. Salzburg.
Yes, well done. Well done. You're like a boxer just on the rope, surviving till the end of each round.
And he throws a punch.
Yeah.
Oh, don't throw that towel in yet.
Vitesse Arnhem.
Oh. Lille.
Yeah.
Yes. Chelsea up. Chelsea, isn't it? Chelsea, isn't it?
Now you're starting to worry, I think, Matt. We've got him.
Oh, hey, mate, if I win
He's produced, to be fair. He's produced.
If I won this.
Sporting Braga.
Oh.
Well, yeah. You've kind of given two answers in one there. So we'll go, yeah, that's fine. That's a clue. So Braga is correct. So I'll go.
Sporting Lisbon. He shot himself in the foot. Hey, basically, to be fair, if you didn't say anything then, I wouldn't have got that support.
Monaco.
Really? Oh. That's got to be all the French teams then. He said, we've done Holland, we've done Italy.
Have we done Holland? Oh,
Mind
have we done
games. Mind games.
Have we done
Right,
Holland?
I'm getting ropes in here, but final.
Well done. Well done. This is unbelievable. This longest I think we've ever gone.
I think there's one more in Holland, isn't there?
11 teams left.
PSV Eindhoven.
We've had it.
PSV or PSG?
We've had them both, haven't we? Matt, I'm sure.
I think PSV.
Yeah, we've had them both. So you kind of feel
Hang on. Let him have another chance. I should claim victory, but that's just a mistake, isn't it?
Okay. Well, go on then. Have another go.
I said Red Star Belgrade.
Correct.
Thanks, Matty. That's very, very generous of you.
That's all right. In my own mind, I won about 5 minutes ago. I'm pleased with myself. I can't think of anyone else now. Leon. No.
Leon is correct.
PAOK.
Yeah. You're surely not going any further than this, Matt.
That's a great shout. That's a great shout. I can't even really think of a team. Where we're going countries as well.
What are you going to swear then?
Yeah.
So this is riveting radio for those listening in, by the way.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry. Apologies. Rapid Vienna. It's not like
No, unfortunately not. So we'll call that. Well, go on, Ewan. If you can get one more, then you can have the win.
No, I will take a draw because I think Matty's been very, very generous with giving me another show.
Have you got another one?
LASK.
Yeah.
Lask or whatever they're called.
Yeah. Well done. So
I'll take a draw. I'll take a draw.
It was a good one. That went on a lot longer than I was expecting it to.
A lot longer than it should have.
Yeah, the teams you didn't get between you: Atalanta, Benfica, Bodo Glimt, Eintracht Frankfurt, Partizan, Real Betis, and Villarreal.
Oh, is that it?
So yeah.
Oh, we did quite well there.
We did very well. We did very well, in fact. A couple of Spanish ones, maybe Villarreal last season's Europa League winners. But, it did very well between you, so well done. Matt, you'll be joining us, of course, on Thursday. Are you with us Thursday?
I am, mate. Yeah, I am Thursday. Yeah.
And then you're making the trip to the Emirates on Sunday.
I'm getting Matty out of jail on Sunday.
Yeah,
you can have a lie in, Matty, Sunday.
That's why I was polite to you in the quiz, mate. You can win as many quizzes as you want if you go inside.
Yeah, there's always an ulterior motive for Matt Elliott. I like it. Always involves him not travelling as well, which is good. All right, well, thanks Ewan and Matt for your company this morning. I'll see you both on Thursday then for that massive game in the Conference League against Rennes. Do join us then at 6:30. But have a great week, the both of you and everybody who's watching and listening.